This is our next generation planter down pressure control system, where what we basically have is a new actuator design that has two accumulators, one of which is on the pressure side, one of which is creating an uplift feature on the row unit, which is an optional kind of feature. But the most important thing about this is it's a really novel high frequency down pressure control system that uses two valves that pulse oil in and out of the cylinder, okay? So the accuracy and the performance of the down pressure control system is largely a function of how fast you can make oil move in or out of the control system, okay? So what I've done right now is I've turned off the system, okay? So one of the key things that's different about the Dawn systems compared to other systems on the market is the integration of the accumulator. So what we can demonstrate with the Reflex system is I've turned it off, so it's basically storing some energy in the actuator, right? Well, it's not perfectly rigid, okay? It's got 1,000 PSI in it, but we can float with the ground because we're floating on the gas pressure inside of those accumulators, okay? And that allows us, when you hit a spike, when you hit a rock, when you're moving over terrain, it not only is easier on the planter row unit, it's not going to wear it out as fast, but it's going to help us also be more controllable and be more accurate at the same time. This system also uses our next generation gauge wheel sensor technology, okay? The XSense device. So instead of a strain gauge, we're actually taking the force on the planter gauge wheels and we're pushing on a piston and we're compressing an oil and then measuring the fluid pressure in the system, okay? Why does it matter? Well, strain gauges have a couple problems. They don't hold calibration very well, and they're not very reliable, okay? So over time, as you go through the field and over days and weeks, you'll lose calibration. And so the system might think it's accurate, but your connection to the physical reality, saying, hey, I'm applying 100 pounds or 120 pounds on the ground, you lose that connection to the scale. That's why with the Dawn systems, we always use a true scale calibration, okay? When you're talking about running a very low gauge wheel load, which is possible with the Reflex system like this, okay, where you could conceivably run a gauge wheel load which is under 100 pounds, you gotta think about things differently, okay? One of the things we also do that the competition doesn't do is just the weight of the gauge wheels is about 35 pounds, okay? If you're talking about 100 pounds of gauge wheel load on the ground or a force on the ground, 35 pounds is nearly, that's 30% of your total range of adjustment there. When we're really trying to be that accurate, you've got to include that. So in terms of our calibration, we include the mass of the gauge wheels in that calibration too. The XSense device also has some small valves in it which allow a high-speed planter row unit to operate like a quasi-suspension, okay? So under a certain level, it's a perfectly rigid system like a normal planter. But if you're going across the field at high speed and you hit a large obstacle or a rock, it's going to absorb a small amount of energy and keep the planter from hopping off the ground, okay? So now we're going to operate it, okay? And bear in mind that this is a super high frequency control system, and with a static display stand, it's like a spring. The whole metallic structure is like a spring, and so it's actually very hard to make it operate like it would in the field, which is why you'll see it pulsing a little bit right here. But all right, so I've turned the pump on. Hydraulic pressure. Now you can run these systems either off a remote or off of Power Beyond. And this system is going to be rated at something around a half gallon a minute per row is what we're going to be looking for there. All right, so now we're turning on our controller. Okay, so now if you come in closer, you can hear the valve ticking, okay? That's the pressure in the return valve turning on and off. Now I'm going to go really fast, all right, and look at this target is set at 150 pounds. Look at how little that number on the scale is changing as I'm going up and down with this thing, okay? That is an extremely accurate control system. I would invite you to ask the competitors to do an experiment with this and to see how accurate it is, okay? All right, so now let's do this. Okay, Well, hey, say I'm going across and I'm planting, and I wanna change my closing wheel down pressure, okay? Check this out right here. Whoa, look at the gauge pressure compensating for that, okay? You've got 0 to 80 pounds right here, okay? When you're changing your closing wheel down pressure, you're changing the required down pressure on the row unit. Yeah. So what we've created here is the fastest acting, most accurate, highest precision down pressure. Really, it's not a down pressure control system. It's a, I like to call it a ride control system for the planter row unit. We're moving the planter row unit almost into a automotive type of suspension parlance, okay? So let me just say there's gonna be some other really exciting stuff coming from us in the near future too. Thank you to Farm Equipment Magazine. We appreciate what you guys do, supporting short-line companies like Dawn Equipment, helping us get the word out and helping just us do what we do. And thanks for coming by, and thanks for watching the live stream.